Okay, folks. So if you're going to make a case for your Arduino and for your button, first thing we're going to need to do is bring in an Arduino into here. So to do that, we're going to create a new project like we did. You can see it's untitled. I haven't saved or anything, but you should probably click New Project and then name your project whatever you think you should call it. For this one, I'm going to call it Arduino Button Box. But you can call it whatever. Push enter. Once you push enter, it will start swirling like that. And then I have a step file of the Arduino, so that's like a 3D model of the Arduino that someone else has already done for us, and I found it on the internet. So let's go ahead and do that. So to do that, we cannot click and bring it in yet. We will have to go here and we have to upload it into the cloud because this Fusion, it's all in the cloud. So let's go to upload right here and let's click select file and let's go to downloads. I have mine in my downloads. You'll probably have it in downloads as well. Arduino step, and we're ready to upload it, but first we got to choose the right folder, change location, and remember I just created that project called Arduino Button Box, so save it in there, that way you know where it is, and click select. Now we can go ahead and upload that file. So we chose the file, we chose the location, and you do want to wait a minute. For example, if I try to do this now and I say insert component, you'll probably notice that when you go to Arduino Button Box, it is not there. So you will have to wait a second, and while you're waiting, you can go ahead and just save your project and call it Arduino Button Box again. So this is the actual file. The other thing was more of a folder, and we're going to save it not right here in my iPhone 8 holder that I made a long time ago. We're going to save it in the Arduino Button Box folder, and I can see, look at this, 8 seconds ago that thing finally uploaded, so it did take about a minute there. So let's click save, and now I just saved my project, and let's go ahead and bring in that part. And you can see my project is saved. It has a name right here. And let's bring in that part. We're going to click here. By the way, if you cannot see this where it says insert component, just click insert right here and go to insert component. And go to your project, Arduino Button Box or whatever you called it, and find the one that says Arduino Uno. This is the one that I uploaded. It's a step file. Click insert. Once you put insert, it will lay in here, and we can start building our box, but we would build it so the bottom of the box would be facing us, and that's kind of weird. So I think it'd be cooler to build the box if it looked like that here. There is one more movement besides that rotation that I do recommend you'll do, and it's not required, but I think it makes it easier to do in the end. And let's click this front right here, and you'll see. So let me show you that again. So this plane that it's laying on, you see all these grid lines right here, it's laying on that. It's not laying perfectly on it, and I'll show you why. Watch this. That red line is that plane, and you can see a lot of this is underneath it. So here's the red line. Look at this board is underneath it. All these little wires coming out of the bottom of the board are underneath it. So let's lift it up so that it's above the red line. I found out that lifting it at about 4.2 millimeters does the job. You can see it's just about perfect. So put OK, and you put whatever you think is fine. And now I'm going to draw a box on that red line. So let me click home so you can see me do that. And I want to draw a box here, but before we do that, please make sure you add a new component. For right now, this is the name of the project. I do have one component called Arduino Uno. Let's bring in a new one. That's the one we're going to draw called new component. So again, if you didn't see me do that, you click assemble and new component. And then type in the name of the part or the component, and this is called the box or the body, whatever you want to call it. Notice once I do that, this goes kind of sort of invisible, but it's there for me to reference, and then it creates me my new component. So now I have the Arduino Uno and I have my box. I'm not really done with my box yet, but let's start building it. So I'm clicking the top here. Oh, in fact, if you want to see what plane I'm going to click on, so this might look like it's more obvious, I'm going to click Sketch, and I am doing the box. Pay attention, this box is a little dot, so that means I'm working on the box. And I'm going to click this plane here. Again, I'm going to click the plane, this one right here. It's the one that is on the floor. And there we go. Now we're working on it. Let's click this rectangle with the corners on it. not the one with the center. If you can't find it, just click create. It'll be in here somewhere. See rectangle and then 2-point rectangle. And just click somewhere outside the Arduino and somewhere outside the Arduino over here. Don't click on this. This is a very common place to click, and most of the time you do want to click that. But I did notice that once you click that, you kind of get locked to that. So let's go just a little bit outside of that. Now, I do want to say how far this line is from this line, so of the Arduino, because this big rectangle I drew is going to be the inner walls of my box, so the inside walls. And I want to make it really close, but not too close, of course. I want it just to be a little bit close. And so if I want to use this line right here, I have to use a command called project. So go to create right here and go to project and say project, and that will project this line into our sketch. And I want to do the same thing here. And I could probably just select the whole board, to be honest, but I only need the 4 lines. This one right there. And I've selected 3 so far. And let's do this 4th one right there. So there we go. I got 4 selected, put OK. And now you see these purple lines. I can use those as I want. So I'm going to click dimension. And the inside of my box to the Arduino, I want it to be really close. Not that close, maybe 1.5 millimeters. You can try to do it closer if you like. I feel comfortable with this, but you can always experiment with something closer. I'm going to do 1.5. So I'm just going to do 1.5 millimeters all the way around from here to the inside of the box. 1.5. And I got one more, the front of the box right here. And this one right here, I just want to show you something. We are going to make a hole for this big old USB port. So let me see if I can rotate to show you. That's the USB port where you plug it in, and we'll use that. There is a power port, and that also sticks out just a little bit. So either make sure that you go 1.5. See how I referenced the edge of the Arduino here? You may want to reference the edge of this and build it 1.5 millimeters out. I know I've seen some students where they don't do that, and they'll just go ahead and, whoops, let me push escape and dimension this real quick. I've seen some students where they'll go ahead and make it thin, but they will make a hole for this power plug as well, which is totally cool too. So that way, I didn't say it was a requirement, but you're definitely not going to get marked off for making a hole for the power plug, because that gives you an extra alternative. So now I have the inside of my box, and you see I have a little bit of room everywhere, so there's a bunch of room here. And say, I'm not going to say finish yet because I need the outside walls. So let's go rectangle, and you can click anywhere out here and anywhere out here because we're going to dimension it. Click dimension, and I'm going to do a 2 millimeter wall. You can make them thinner, but you don't want to make it too thin. 3D printers will have trouble making it too thin. 2 millimeters will have absolutely no problem. Any type of printer, even a cheap Ender 3 will do 2 millimeters. That's not thick, but it's not thin either. It's just kind of in the middle. And I think I was getting confused with that purple line. So from here to here, I'm making the walls 2 millimeters thick. And this is the outside wall. This is the inside wall of my box. And I'm going to make that 2 millimeters. So now I'm 2 millimeters all the way around. I feel like I did mess this one up right here. I referenced there. See that? So just go ahead and delete that if you did what I did there. Sorry, delete. There we go. And I was wondering why it looked a little thinner on that side. This is really thin. So I was supposed to reference from here to here, and that was supposed to be 2 millimeters. There we go. And I think that's about it. I think I got 2 millimeters everywhere. I do notice that you will notice that they're not black right here, and that's because I never said where this box was. Watch this. I'm going to move this. Grab this line. So I never said how wide this box is. Oh, because I never said, I think I deleted that dimension when I was deleting stuff. So let's go ahead and fix that one as well. Click here, and that was at 1.5 to the inner wall. There we go. Now we're fully constrained, and we're all good to go. So I'm going to push finish. And let's go home so you can kind of see it. And I'm going to go ahead and extrude that up, and I'm going to only do the walls, and we're going to bring that up. And how far do we want to go? Let's see. Well, we got to go far enough so that the whole Arduino fits in there, and that's definitely enough. You may, so we're going to make a hole for this USB. We will do that in a second, but if you make a hole and you go higher like this, you may have a little trouble trying to get this Arduino in. You might have to kind of put this in at an angle, like stick the USB port in and then drop the back end over here in. So let me see if I can try to show you what I'm talking about. When you get the Arduino, you're going to have to stick this in first, that big bulky thing, shove it in this hole, then drop this back end in, and hopefully it'll fit. One way you can make sure it will fit is to make this extrusion. See how I'm extruding right here? I'm going a certain distance. I might be able to say right here, see it says distance? I can say to object, and let's see if I can click the top of this. There we go. I clicked the top of that Arduino, and let me see if that actually worked. Yeah, that looks pretty even with it. Yeah, that's pretty even with it. So I pushed it all the way to the edge right here. So I just said to object, and I clicked the top of that, and it went to the object. So sometimes you can say how far you want to extrude distance-wise, but you can actually just extrude to something as well. And I just extruded to the top of that, and I just selected that. This is a new body. Yes, it is. It's a new body altogether. Oops, let's go home. And there we go. Now, you will want a hole right here for this big, this thing here. So we will definitely need to take a sketch and click here. And you'll need to take a rectangle. And I clicked this line up here. And I'm going to click just out. I want to make sure it's room. You don't want to go too tight. I'm just making sure there's a little bit of room everywhere. In fact, right here I probably have too much room, so I'm going to push escape and then kind of drag it out really close. And there we go. You could definitely project these lines into your thing again. Don't forget, you could always do that. I'll be taking a little bit of shortcuts here with this project because I gotta go. I don't want it to be too long. So you can click these like that. And then you can do what we did last time, where you say how far away these are. And you can go pretty darn close with this, since it's not a 3D print for say. We're just trying to make sure there's a gap, so we can do 0.2 millimeters. And then you could do that all the way around if you want to. I'll just go ahead and call that quits there. And then go home. And I'm going to extrude that. Let's see if it'll let me, if I made a closed shape. I think I did. There we go. Make sure you're selecting the square. It's kind of being a pain here. There we go. And then I'm going to say not a new body. I want to cut. And then new body is going to add a whole new part. I'm going to cut and then say OK. And there we go. We have a hole for that. If you want to see what it looks like at any time, click this button at the very top. So here's the name of the whole project. It'll show you all your parts in one, and none of them will be invisible. So there we go. And if you want the case to be a different color, which I highly recommend, right click on your box, go to appearance, and then right here should be some paint, but for me it's been glitching lately. I have to close it and I have to right click on it again, and it always works the second time. There we go. And I'm going to go to paint, and I'm going to go to glossy, and I will make it red. So you got to download it and give it a second to download, then drag it over to that, and there we go. So you can see I've cut this in. I'll have no problem because this is just going to lay right in there. If you have this wall higher and you just have a hole, you'll have to kind of hope it can slide in there kind of at an angle and then drop in. All right. You will need to cut a hole for that, of course, because you can see that it's, I don't know, can you see it's kind of pushing through my material. So you'll need to cut a hole all the way through here, or at least cut some of it into the wall here so that this thing can rest, because I cut it a little too close. So you'll need to fix that. Of course, you'll need to add a place for your button, And what does your button look like? Oops, I'm trying to rotate this thing. Cancel. Your button's going to go over here somewhere, and the button is going to look like this. Let me show you. So right here, and you're going to need to draw a circle with 2 lines. So this is not the dimension of your button. This is just a random button I found on the internet, and this is probably way too big. So I'm going to pretend that instead of it's 16 circle and 15 wide, I'm going to go 8 and 7. Okay, I'm just making something up. Um, so how do you do 8 and 7? So you're going to draw a hole for your sketch. You're going to draw a hole for your switch, and it's actually quite easy. What is the big part of your switch? Go ahead and just measure it. How big is the widest part of your switch, the whole round area? And then you're going to type that here. So let's say it was 8 millimeters, okay? And then you measured the thin part. I'm going to grab this rectangle, and let's say you grabbed the thin part and you measured, whoa, come on, there we go. Let me push escape to get out of that tool. Now you measured from here to here on the thin part of your circle. There's a little thinner part. What is that part? And by the way, you shouldn't use the rectangle one I just did, so I'm going to Control Z. You should totally use this one right here, the center one. And you'll see why in a second, because it's centered. You see how it does it perfectly? And how thin is it right there? And let's say when you measured it, just go ahead and click this, and you measured it to be 6 millimeters, okay? So you measure that to be 6 millimeters, and this is 8 millimeters. And that's pretty much all you have to do. Now you could trim it, you don't have to, you can just leave it like that. And then when you push finish, click home. Oops, it's in the back, so I'll have to click over this way. Click extrude. Click only the center part. See that? See, not that, not that, not that part. This part right here. And then you're going to say cut, and then go ahead and remove that part. And my walls are 2 millimeters thick, so you can actually extrude the exact amount if you wanted to. 2 millimeters. And you can say OK. We can also, let me delete that extrusion. Delete, or actually I could just edit it. You could say, instead of a distance and say 2 millimeters, in case you want to change it later, you can say to object, and you can say to the inside of this, and put OK, and that should also do it. So I said all the way, extrude all the way to this side, and that makes a hole. And that's where your button will be. Now, that was not a good place for a button. You guys see that? This is going to be in the way. You're going to probably want it over here. So that's not a very hard fix. I just double click. Let's go this way. And you can just kind of move it. Where is it? Let's see if we can see it. Oh, yeah. And the good thing I didn't really do anything. There we go. I didn't dimension, and you should dimension exactly where this is. You want to see all these lines black, so measure from the center of this to this wall and put a certain number, and from this wall to this dot and put a certain number. I'm taking shortcuts here so you don't have to watch a super long video. And you can slide your button in there, put the nut on the back side, and screw it in. Then, of course, you need your LED, and you can put your LED whatever you want. You want it in the front. Okay. What does an LED look like? You're going to need to measure it. A common LED looks something like this, and it's 5 millimeters wide. So almost LEDs I have in my class are 5 millimeters wide right here. And then the fatter part on the bottom, this little bottom part of the LED, is 5.8. We're not really concerned about that. Let's just make a 5 millimeter hole. Let's make it a little bit bigger than that, like 5.1, so we know that there's room. But 5.1 or 5.2, it's still not going to fall through, because look at this. It's 5.8 on the fatter part. So let's go ahead and do that. Sketch. Oops, I don't even know what I'm sketching. I didn't say, I must have had something selected. So I'm going to delete that sketch. And let's start a new sketch and click here. And I'm going to go ahead and add an LED. Make sure there's nothing on the other side of that. I'm not going to do that right now, but this is going to be super simple. You're literally just going to make a circle and then make sure it's like 5.1, because they're about 5 wide, but you don't want to, you want to give yourself a little bit of tolerance, and then go ahead and extrude that and cut it through, okay? And you guys should already know how to do that. All right, my mic turned off there. So there we go. So now let's get to the lid. No, we have to do the bottom of this thing. I've been playing around with this. I forgot we haven't done the bottom. So let me click home. Let's get this bottom done. Bottom's going to be very easy. Let's go down here and say sketch. And let's click the very bottom right there. And there we go. And all we're going to do is hit a rectangle on the very corner out here and the outside corner right here. And say finish. And then go ahead and extrude that. I'm going to hold that at an angle so you can see what I'm doing. Extrude. And not just that, but also this part too. And go ahead and make it whatever you want. I'm going to make it 2 millimeters thick. That's what all my other walls are. And make sure you're coming down, not up, because I didn't leave any room up. Remember, I put the bottom of the Arduino, now let me hide the box. I put the bottom of this plane directly where that little part is. So I cannot extrude the bottom upward. I had to extrude it downward, and I did. Let's see here. Now you need to do the lid, and this will be very quick. Go ahead and you're going to want a new component. So here's the box that we're working with, but you're going to want to select this, the whole project, then click Assemble, New Component, and then call it Lid. And then now you see that we're working with the lid, and we're going to say Sketch, and select this face right here. There we go. And I can see I selected it because it kind of turned blue on me here. And then really, a real quick easy lid would be click the corner here and the corner here and say finish. And then click home. And then just extrude it. And that should be really easy. Not just that, but this as well. And I'm just going to make it 2 millimeters because I've been making everything 2 millimeters. And there, I do have a lid. I do recommend that you make the lid, well, this lid is going to have to lay perfectly flat here. But you could experiment with stuff like create a box on top that kind of comes down so it kind of fits in nice and neat and kind of doesn't slide around. This lid is just a big flat piece. It's going to slide around. And I do recommend, let me show you this, home. Let me hide this lid. Let me go to the box so you can see the box. I do recommend adding some extra plastic maybe in the corners or something. You could do that, but then of course you would need, I don't know if you have enough room to add some plastic in these corners, but you might need to cut some edges out so that the Arduino will fit. And you could do this. I'm not going to go over this because this is not a requirement, but I do have a bunch of these in class. They're for M3 3mm screws. You do need to make a 4mm hole, or actually I think it's like a 4.1mm hole or 4.2mm hole, but a 4mm or 4.1mm hole, and you can insert those into the plastic. So you make a hole that big, and then you heat them up with a soldering iron and melt them down in, and you will have these beautiful little threaded screws that you can put in to seal the box perfect. I'll try to go over that in a separate video. But this is enough right here for you to get started and to master this. And make sure that you have a symbol on here, your initials, your name, something that identifies that this is your box. It's not just a plain box. Okay? And that's it.